Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to Soul Centered. My name is Ariela and Rabbi B, and we just want to welcome you today to the Soul Experience. And just a little bit about Soul Centered. Soul Centered is it's really a center for all individuals in their midlife, in their afternoon of their life, in the midlife and beyond, that want to connect to spirituality, meaning, and healing. I am an intuitive guide and energy healer, and I connect midlife women to their body and emotions and spirit to create holistic healing and also live an empowered life. And so we want to welcome you in today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I am Rabbi B. I am Soul Centered's IT guy, so just doing double time here. I think we have everything worked out. Give us a nod if you can hear us. Last week that was an issue. Hey, Andrea, let us know if you can hear us. I hope you can. So I am a rabbi. That just simply means teacher, and for about 20 years I've been teaching people how to navigate what I call life's T's, transitions, tests, trials, traumas, tragedies, the things that bring us to a crossroads in our lives, and help guiding people forward with meaning and direction and purpose. Great. And so I'm a student of Dr. Viktor Frankl, author of Man's Search for Meaning and father of logotherapy, meaning-centered therapy. And so we both work with people, particularly in the afternoon of life, midlife and onwards. And that's what we're going to be discussing in a little bit, is how we've learned to navigate midlife, the afternoon, and how we can offer you these experiences just vis-a-vis Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, wherever you're joining us. And so we hope you benefit, and we are honored that you joined us. And with that, before we begin our conversation, which is really what the Soul Experience will start revolving around, but a conversation framed through mindfulness and meditation and the experience of everything we're talking about, not just thinking about it. And so with that, maybe we'll set the tone.
Great. So we'll start with Shalom. And again, the Soul Experience is really for anyone that is seeking to center their soul. It doesn't matter if you are Jewish or not Jewish, religious or not. We come from really a Kabbalistic framework, but we are open and teach and educate on all frameworks that center your soul. So you will hear some Hebrew in this. There is a soul sheet, a song sheet that you can download on either the website or also on the Facebook group, and the Facebook page, right?
Yeah, it's on. It's under tools, I believe, on mysoulcentered.org. I usually put it up in this. I forgot. Also, I was having this conversation recently with somebody who said, it's hard for them, the Hebrew. First of all, it's simple chants. It's ancient words. A lot of it is actually part of your vocabulary. Amen. Amen means affirmation. And so that's a word we might use. But also, when I chant Sanskrit and I'm a part of a Buddhist practice at times, it's refreshing to me in many ways to tap into something that's ancient, and now that I make my own. And so we invite you to make this your own, but at the very least you can always just return to the sound of your breath.
So with that, we'll enter into Shalom. 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 Shalom.
So I've always kind of considered myself a spiritual mutt, grabbing from different pieces of different traditions. And this next one is taken from the Christian tradition. And I love synthesizing and kind of merging these great traditions into your own unique spiritual practice and our own. And so this next one, Lord, prepare me. For those of you who are Christian, maybe heard this growing up in church. Doing that, and then merged with Hine Matov, which is the Hebrew equivalent. And so bringing these two great traditions together to have one great experience.
So just closing your eyes and coming into your breath and your body and centering yourself as we bring together this beautiful chant, this beautiful song of community and openness, open-heartedness. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and in thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. In the Hebrew, Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. And so we will continue with Rabba Emunatecha, just really allowing our hearts to open, to allow this divine abundance to flow through us. And it's so important to step back from our busy week, from life, to have, as we sang before, to have a sanctuary, to create a sanctuary within. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, is looking into this whole idea of midlife as an idea of sanctuary, as a different phase in life where, you know, pre-midlife and then in midlife and beyond is creating a distinction. And it's a distinction to allow the divine abundance to flow within us in a different way. And so just opening, it's just a very simple chant, opening to your divine abundant presence in our lifetime, in our life.
And those words just mean Rabbah meant much, and Emunatecha, like I mentioned, Amen, much certainty and faith and direction.
Rabbah Emunatecha, Rabbah Emunatecha, Rabbah Emunatecha, Emunatecha, 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 Rabba, emunatecha, Rabba, emunatecha, Rabba, emunatecha, emunatecha, Rabba, emunatecha, Rabba, emunatecha, Rabba, emunatecha, emunatecha, Rabba, emunatecha, Rabba, emunatecha, Rabba, emunatecha, emunatecha.
As we continue to take some deep breaths, just feeling these chants, not thinking them. You know, so often we're in our head, and I work a lot on myself and other people to reimagine prayer. I find prayer to be empty and meaningless most of the time that I engage in it formally, that I read other people's words, that I go through other people's practices. But when I take these words and I make them my own, something happens. Something in me opens up, and really start to feel this Elohai Neshama, this divine spark, this divine spirit that's within each and every one of us. And so Elohai Neshama, just simple words about making these words your own, tapping into your breath and feeling the divine.
Elohai Neshama Shenatata Bi Tehorahi Elohai Neshama Shenatata Bi Tehorahi Elohai Neshama Shenatata Bi Tehorahi.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, oh my soul, that you placed in me, pure is she. Oh my God, oh my soul, that you placed in me, pure is she.
Elohai,
Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata Bi Tehorahi Elohai Neshama Shenatata Bi Tehorahi. So we continue with Ashrei. It's this idea, I love this chant, this prayer, it's this idea that joy comes from within. Rabbi Nachman was a student and a teacher of finding that inner joy, that when life around us is falling apart, when there's chaos, when it feels like the earth underneath us becomes sand and we're sinking, this prayer holds us tight and holds us and says to us that joy comes from within. That midlife and beyond is about recognizing and really understanding that joy is an inside job. So I invite you to close your eyes and feel the breath as a bridge between body and soul, as an invitation to find that inner joy from within. Ashrei Yoshvei B'Tzecha Or Yehalelucha Or Yehalelucha Ashrei Yoshvei B'Tzecha Or Yehalelucha Or Yehalelucha Ashrei Yoshvei B'Tzecha hallelujah. Gloria, hallelujah. Ashrei Yoshvei B'tzecha. Gloria, hallelujah. Gloria, hallelujah. Ashrei Yoshvei B'tzecha. Gloria, hallelujah. Gloria, hallelujah.
We'll do one more before we enter into our conversation. We'll do Olam.
Sure. Olam Chesed. Olam Chesed Yibanei. Yadadai, dai, yadadai, dai. 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 Olam Chesed Yibanei. Yadadai, dai, yadadai, dai.
Ariel's going to keep chanting. I'm just going to share some thoughts.
Olam Chesed.
We live in a world right now that's deeply broken and hurting. This is a song, a chant about healing. So we send our love and our prayers out to the Olam, the world, asking the divine to bring healing, asking God to bring unity, asking the source of chesed, kindness, to bring kindness to each other. And it starts with you, and it starts with me, and it starts in our hearts. So just take some time and some moments to send love out to the world as we join back in with the Hebrew, as we join into the English, but more importantly, as we join into the language and the spirit that's in each one of our hearts of unity and peace. And Olam Chesed Yibanei. I will build this world from love. And you must build this world from love. We must build this world. And we must build this world from love. God will build this world. And God will build this world from love. So we'll enter into a conversation, but the chant that we've kind of come to lean on to open up our mind and our hearts to have a meaningful conversation. We'd love to hear from you in the chat. So if you're there, and I know that quite a few of you there in different places, on Facebook group, Facebook page, YouTube now, Twitter, some other places. So wherever you're joining, welcome. And we'll again love to hear from you. I think we can only see Facebook comments, but Love to hear from you. So we open our minds and our hearts with this ancient mystical chant. Comes from the Jewish tradition, but it's we only sing it in English, so it's very accessible. And it's about connecting to the world around us in an organic and natural rhythm that's always there for us to tap into. Hey ya, 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 ho. Hey ya, 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 ho. Hey ya, 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 ho. Hey ya, 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 ho. Hey ya, 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 ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey. Just call the response. Here we go. Mother Earth, Father Sky, heat of fire, drop of water. I can feel it in my body, in my spirit, in my soul. Good Mother Earth, Father Sky, heat of fire, drop of water. I can feel it in my body, in my spirit, in my soul. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, 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 ho. Hey ya, 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 ho. Hey ya, 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 ho. Hey ya, 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 ho. One of my kids a while back said, "Don't you feel stupid doing that on Facebook Live?" The shush. Sounds like shush. And I said something to the effect, I didn't say this, but I said something to the effect, in the morning of my life, I would feel totally stupid. And in the afternoon of my life, I don't give up. You know what? And I think that's what this is about. I don't care. We don't care anymore, because the only way you can ever truly tap into soul, tap into the divine, is to get past your ego, is to get past yourself. Wayne Dyer talks a lot about ego. He calls it an acronym for edging God out. And we get into our ego and our persona, and how does it look, and what does it appear, and the goals and the rules and the tools of what we call the morning of life, and the garbage. And you wake up at some point and you realize, this is garbage. I've been sold a bill of goods. I'm not buying it anymore. Usually happens, or it can start to happen, in the 30s. Really starts opening up from there on out. And so when we talk about the afternoon of life, we're talking about an opening 30s, I'd say probably more like 40 plus. But the afternoon of life only begins there. And it goes until your body decides to return to the earth and your soul decides to return to the place of all souls. And that's what we're focused on now, is the afternoon of life, because it's where we meet our clients, but for us, it's also where our passion lies and where we are on our journey. And to reimagine again the goals, the rules, and the tools of the afternoon of life. And that's our conversation today. We're going to begin it here. We're not going to end it here. And we're really delighted that you chimed in and you can join us in this conversation.
I also think the afternoon in life, and we're going to talk about actually today a little bit about Brene Brown's beautiful article called The Midlife Unraveling. But she says it beautifully. The afternoon of life, it can start, the whispering starts in your 30s, where she talks about this idea that the divine taps on your shoulder and says, you know, hey, you need to wake up. You need to stop the stuff that you're doing that's not really in your highest truth. But our 30s are about striving and about growing. We're growing our careers. We're growing our families. Some of us, we're growing our relationships. We're growing in everything that we do. And it's about sweeping those things under the rug. So often in our 30s, I know for us, even though we were on a spiritual path, our 30s were about kind of pushing things under the rug. Why? Because you're sleepless. Why? Because you're exhausted. Your 40s and 50s are a little bit about exhaustion too, but in a different way. But as you head into your midlife years, that tapping, she says, it gets louder and it gets bigger. And in some ways it gets more painful, but it's also almost like a painful, beautiful awakening. So it's this idea that it's an awakening to your heart. It's an awakening, like Baruch said in the beginning, where in our 30s, we probably would never have gotten up here not knowing who was going to show up and what they were going to say and do. And it's really an awakening of your heart and what is your empowered voice and your heart saying. And it's moving forward from there.
Yeah, I mean, I love Brene Brown, but I don't worship Brene Brown. And she would be the first to say, don't worship her. And there's a lot of kind of like, she has amazing stuff, but I think there's a couple flaws in her article, Midlife Unraveling. Or maybe not flaws, but certainly shortcomings. She talks about the unraveling. She doesn't get to the shattering, right? And I think she puts a little too much emphasis on the unraveling, which is more of a 30s, 40s things. But then afternoon of life, you're not going to experience unravelings if you don't deal with this. You're going to experience shatterings, right? This comes from Kabbalah. And it's this necessary component of the universe that everything has shatterings. All life begins in shatterings. The Big Bang was a shattering. Birth is a shattering. Up until relatively recently, it was the number one way women would die, is in childbirth. It was a dangerous time. And out of this kind of idea of potential death can come potential life. Out of this idea of emergency can come emergence. And so I feel like what Ariela, what you're talking about and what's important to talk about is, and she does do a good job of this, the unraveling is a whispering and it's a warning that you better wake up, because if you don't wake up, we'll wake you up. I guess it were that easy that if you experienced a shattering, you would wake up. But I've guided people for decades now who have experienced shatterings and they go back into the sleepwalking.
That's very true. I think shattering, when we talk about shattering, it is a Kabbalistic term. I think that the idea of shattering is really scary. And so what happens is that when we have shatterings, I mean, you can even use the coronavirus as a shattering, a world shattering.
Look at all the shatterings.
That and beyond. It's a scary place if you come from it in an early phase of your life. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we revert backwards into our old beliefs, into the box we used to live in, into not vulnerability, but almost shame, and into the avoidance. We talk a lot about avoid dance. So when the shattering comes, it puts added fear onto the opening because we are using our old life and our old way of thinking. And so the invitation as we head into whatever we may be going through, especially in midlife, the invitation is to open to what I love. Rabbi Yoel Glick talks about Shaviti. And Shaviti, there's a phrase in Hebrew that says, Shaviti Adonai lenegdi tamid, is this introduction of placing the divine before us. So as our midlife happens, as shattering happens, we open our hearts, we go to a new phase of life, which is centered in whatever you call it, the universe, the divine, your essence, your soul. But it's placing that, it's leading with that.
But the other challenge, there's lots of challenges. I mean, we like to challenge, I was told a long time ago, my job as a rabbi or a guy, just comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I do that myself. Ariel will definitely tell you I do that in our marriage. And to do it in my clients. Comfort the afflicted, afflict the comfortable. And one of the afflicting the comfortable is that we live in a world where I think we're shocked by the coronavirus and the rioting going on right now. And we should be shocked, but we also shouldn't be shocked, because this has been human nature since the beginning of time. And shatterings have been happening since the beginning of time. And none of us are getting out of this alive. And shatterings are part of the reality. And if we go into it with this idea that, why are shatterings happening to me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with the fact that there's a shattering, as opposed to there's a shattering, right? I know there's supposed to be a shattering. The question isn't, is there a shattering? The question is, how do I respond? Because we don't have a choice about the shatterings.
Right.
All we have, Viktor Frankl says, The last of human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. We cannot control our external circumstances. We cannot control the shatterings. We can control our response to the shattering.
So that is when midlife comes along and says, it's time to shift your view of life. So the first half of life is about physical focus, right? It's very physical. It's becoming physically aware. We're all about our bodies. If you look at babies, if you look at adolescents downstairs, it's.
Take a pause from that for a moment.
we have a lot of kids in different phases, but it's all about the body. It's gratification. It's immediate needs. As you shift into midlife, we become soul focused. It's exactly what I said about placing the divine before you. It's placing the soul before the body, because, as you said, the recognition that the body is finite is a hard pill to swallow if we are only self-physical centered. When we become soul-centered, when we live with the soul before us, when we live with the divine before us, we recognize that these things that are happening to us are not happening to us physically, but they are an invitation to come deeper into our soul. So I don't know why this is coming up for me, but I look at, my mom passed away of cancer, and the shift of her physical form was so painful to watch. But as she shifted into the next life, and I was very in touch with her losing her physical body, but also shifting into the soul body. So this isn't just when you pass on. This is the invitation into midlife, is that there's so many levels of the soul. One level is when you pass on, but this midlife level of soul is to go deeper into the layers of your soul.
And that's why midlife, we're not even focused only on midlife. It's afternoon of life. It's from midlife onwards.
Right.
Because there's something that's available in the afternoon of life that wasn't available for the 10 reasons, the 1,000 reasons that we're talking about here, that wasn't available in the morning of life. And part of it is armor. It's like Ariela you're talking about. It's scary. It's scary. I woke up last night in the middle of the night and just was like a little bit overwhelmed by the idea that there will come a point where I'll never be here again. And if it's only myself talking, that was myself talking. It's overwhelming. Like, you're here and then you have to say goodbye forever. And this is over forever. If it's self, it's terrifying. We have to build up armor against that. And we don't think about it. I just did a class this week called Kabbalah Soul Cinema, where we looked at the movie The Sixth Sense. We started it. It's a series, and I'll be doing more if you're interested. We're watching a movie on life after death, or life after life, and we're then talking about it in a small group conversation and looking at Kabbalah sources. Some of the group was a little bit scared because The Sixth Sense seems like a scary movie. And it is a scary movie if you're approaching it from self. But what's the amazing thing about this movie is that somewhere in the middle of the movie, when the character and Bruce Willis start listening to what really is being said, they realize it's not about self and death, it's about soul and life. And I watched this conversation in my group shift because it was moving from self to soul. And they could start hearing it in ways that you couldn't hear in the self, you couldn't hear in the morning, you couldn't hear when you're scared and living in fear.
As an intuitive guide and a healer, what I resonate with that is that we go through this path in our healing phase, and we are all on a healing path. Whether you're healing your body or shifting just into midlife is a whole healing in itself, is that there's a journey that one takes. We start, like you said, like Bruce Willis in this movie, like you start in this body and the physical, and we have to get through the body. The body is always presenting itself with messages to go deeper, right? So chronic illness, chronic pain, aches and pains, you name it. Our body is sending us our messages to look and connect to the body, but then to shift deeper. So what happens is that our emotions are stored in our body. And so this is the stuff of life. It's just being an earthling. And then as we shift through our emotional life, through our body, our embodiment, our physicality on this earth, then we come into spirit. Then we become soul-centered. But it's a journey.
But when you agree, you're using the body in that situation to do work that's deeper. It isn't that you are your body. It's that your body provides you a pathway to who you are. You know, you look at Bruce Willis's character in The Sixth Sense, Malcolm, I forgot his character's name. But it's and the whole movie, The Sixth Sense, which is a great movie, by the way, on this idea of body, soul, over-identification, over-connection. The spirits that are coming to this little boy for help are stuck because of traumatic experience in their body.
Right.
And it's a process of over-identifying to not identifying anymore with their body so that they can make them move into the realm of the soul. And this little boy's job is to help them listen to their body and let go of their body and move into their soul. And that's what you do. You're like this kid in the Sixth Sense, not necessarily dealing with the afterlife, although you touch on that, but helping people move through their body to not identify, I am my body, right? I am a soul having a body experience, not I am a body having a soul experience.
Right, it's a vehicle. Like this, we are here on earth. I had a client a couple of weeks ago and she was talking about this idea that it's so much easier to just imagine living in spirit. And I said, but you have lessons to learn on this earth. You're in a physical body right here and now for a reason, that you have divine messages and healing and in Hebrew we call it tikkun, just like repairing to do and to remember in this lifetime. That's why we're earthlings and earth beings. And then the shift is when we're on this earth to shift into soul before we pass on.
Absolutely. And so, you know, it's a warning. Brene's article, Midlife Unraveling, is a whispering, wake up, and then midlife, kind of the afternoon of life, is a shattering, wake up, and then the evening of life, which, you know, I'm teaching on right now, as I just mentioned, the transition to the next world is a emergency, now or never, not never, never, now or next, and then you go to the next world. And for those who kill themselves, my father, my grandmother, you're just going to have to do the work on the other side. You don't escape the work. It just gets more complicated and compounding. It's like interest in a bank. It compounds over time. So deal with it when it presents itself, when it's smaller and manageable, because you will deal with it one way or the other.
Right, right.
And so that's the work we're doing with clients. That's the work Soul Centered is committed to, is this idea of the afternoon of life. Can I just read this central text from Jung? And I think we've really built Soul Centered around. Jung writes, and I'll read this often because it's kind of, for me, a vision statement. Wholly unprepared, we embark upon the second half of life. Are there colleges for 40-year-olds which prepare them for the coming life and its demands as the ordinary college introduces our young people to knowledge of the world and life? Of course, no, there aren't. Thoroughly unprepared, we take the step into the afternoon of life. Worse still, we take this step with the false presupposition that our truths and ideas will serve as they had before. But we cannot live in the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning. For what was great in the morning will be little at evening, and what in the morning was true will at evening have become a lie. And so we're really helping people find the truth about where they are, where you are in the afternoon of life. And we both believe the afternoon of life can be the best, most influential, most important, most inspiring phase of life.
I love St. Teresa of Avila talks about this beautiful, magical world inside of us. When we get to that soul-centered place, is that there's mansions, and each doorway to the mansions are levels and rooms of our soul. And so if you think about, like, is this all there is? You know, is this all there is? And St. Teresa of Avila says, this is not all there is. There are magical rooms of the soul inside of us that are waiting to be discovered and uncovered. And that is really what we do. You know, we want to take you to a place of mystical and magical where you can live an empowered life, where we go into that mystical and the magical, but then we come back into our physicality here on earth, and how can we empower you in your relationships and transform your life and really make the changes and live the life that you are meant to live during this lifetime, so that when you do shift on, whether it's 100 years or 50 years or a year, that you have fulfilled that level of soul in this lifetime.
And to make the afternoon of life an exciting journey, not something to be white-knuckled, holding on tight as everything starts to fall out and fall apart, right? If this is who we are, it's a miserable downward slide, descent into hell. But if this is who we are, it's a beautiful ascent, right, into heaven. And so that's the work we do. So thank you for just listening. We're not done yet, but we do want to make kind of distinct this conversation in the middle, because I know a lot of you tune in for that. And then we'll just spend a few more minutes embodying it through healing and through remembering those who came before us.
So I'm just going to lead a guided meditation, kind of integrating what we discussed a few minutes ago. And this is part of our healing portion of the soul experience. Hi, Susan. So we invite you to just get comfortable, and you know, there's a beautiful way to discuss that. We love discussions, but we also love meditation. And one of the ways to center your soul is through getting quiet and becoming still, and to feel your body and emotions and your spirit. So, and
it's not always comfortable to do for long silent periods on Facebook Live. So these are tastes of. We both have a morning practice, but we encourage you to, maybe not shut us off, but as soon as it's over, to shut it off and to take some more time to do this inner work.
Yeah. So let's just go through a brief meditation, a guided visualization, and closing your eyes and getting really comfortable in your spot. And just begin by taking a deep breath in and a long breath out. And using the breath, a deep inhale and a long breath out, and just using the breath as a vehicle to connect to your soul, to your essence, to that still, small, quiet voice within. And as you breathe and start to integrate our conversation, I invite you to take your right hand and just open your palm. And your right hand, let's imagine, holds all the physicality of life. Your aches, your pains, possibly your illnesses. It holds your loss. It also holds your old beliefs. It holds the way that we all live in a box that we place upon ourselves, our old rules, our old ways of living. Imagine placing it all in your right hand. It's not about erasing who we are, who we were. It's just about accepting. And so placing it there before us in our right hand, and then opening your palm in your left hand, and opening to this new opening, this living outside of the box, these new beliefs, this idea of soul, of essence, of opening your heart, of opening to a beautiful, beautiful awakening inside the rooms, the doorways of your soul. Take a deep breath in and open to the acceptance of where your physical body is. Opening to placing the divine before us, living in and within the divine. Seeing the world with rose-colored glasses means not being Pollyanna about it, but placing the divine before you. And so just noticing these two worlds that you're holding in your right and left hand. And then bringing them together at the center of your heart. So almost as if you're integrating both worlds into your heart center. For they are both of you. This is the journey that you were asked to be given on this lifetime, in this life. And so imagine integrating this beautiful midlife opening and awakening to the center of who you are, integrating it into your old ways of life and placing them before your heart and integrating both of them so that you know and remember that you are already whole. Breathing in and living soul-centered, living in this divine oneness, divine truth, divine wholeness, divine awakening.
And so we'll conclude by just taking a few moments to shift the way we think about those who are transitioned to the next world. Can be a source of strength. It doesn't have to just be, and shouldn't just be, a source of sorrow. We can get to a place, and no matter how recent or painful your loss has been, you can get to a place where their memory becomes a source of inspiration, not desperation. In fact, we owe it to them to work towards that place. As hard as it is, you can get there. And so we invite you to just think about, share on the text, your loved ones, their name. I'm teaching right now a group. Susan's in the group. Love my soul sisters in this group on soul uprising. And it's about names. And it's about really thinking about names and holding names and saying the names of those who have come before us, to say their name. Just say it. Say it on text. Say it verbally when we're connecting and praying, but continue to say the name. There will come a point, I shared this text, there are 3 deaths, 2 deaths or 3 deaths, body death and the story death, and also the last time somebody speaks our name. So you're a guardian of your loved one's name. Say it through your mouth, and more importantly, in your heart.
So we'll chant in Hebrew and then in English. Yikara ve'yikadash Shem Rabba Yehi Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam U'me'almaya Yikara ve'yikadash Shem Rabba Yehi Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam U'me'almaya. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life. Shalom.
Ariel, chant Shalom.
Shalom.
You'll just feel free to share the name of your loved one. Say it out loud. Speak it. Your guardian of their name, of their story, of their legacy.
Shalom.
Say my name of my friend, brother Mark, my dad Shelby, Grandma Flo, Grandpa Jack, Harold Bass, mother-in-law Linda, father-in-law Rob, grandmother-in-law Ma, grandfather-in-law Paul, all of our loved ones, just continuing to say their name. And may they know Shalom, peace, and may you know Shalom, peace, and may we all know Shalom, peace. Shalom, shalom. So thank you for tuning in. We'll just share a little bit about what's going on in our life right now. That way you're not trapped into these announcements and you can always tune out. But we appreciate you tuning in and we'd love for you to stay tuned in a little bit longer.
So as I said in the beginning, I am an intuitive guide and an energy healer, and I guide midlife women to connect to their body, emotions, and spirit so that they can heal and create a holistic healing within and also live an empowered life. Right now, I have a Midlife Moms Circle. Our second group is this Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time on Zoom. So you're welcome to email or Facebook message me. If you'd like to join the group, you still can. And it's really a circle to empower midlife women to find their center, their needs and their desires while they're parenting. Most of us have teenagers or older children, and we're really discovering how to live an empowered life and still meet the needs of our children and our family, but find that soul within and live within it freely and openly. So you're welcome to join our group. I am collaborating with a lot of wonderful women. I have a lot of beautiful projects coming up in terms of health and healing and spiritual integration, and really opening to your your body and your emotions to find spirit, kind of like our discussion now. But there are lots of collaborations happening. Working with the Lapin Foundation, a foundation in Boston, and doing some really nice circles, monthly circles called Rosh Chodesh to discover and center your soul. Coming up will be High Holy Days during August, and also in July, a beautiful opening to love and integrating love inside of your body and also in your relationships. So lots of beautiful things happening. As always, we offer one-on-one clients and counseling and healing opportunities. And stay tuned. There is a group in the working with relationships between Baruch and I.
Yeah, once we figure it out, we'll teach on it.
It's coming. I can feel it.
Yeah, you might have to wait a while. We have, so my area of kind of passion and focus is life, loss, legacy. And regarding legacy, we have a Legacy Alive experience for Father's Day. We did it for Mother's Day, a week from tomorrow, I believe.
21st.
And I can't remember the time, but it's on Facebook as an event or on our website. It's not about desperation, it's about inspiration, but it is about paying tribute to those who came before us. And Father's Day doesn't end because our fathers who aren't here physically. They are here in so many ways. I mean, the loss part of my work is helping people reframe it to legacy. Loss is only a part of death, right? But there's so much that lives, soul, spirit, but regardless of what you believe, you are the legacy of your father who isn't here. And so you pay tribute to them on Father's Day. And I'm very proud of this Legacy Alive experience that we're doing around these light, L-I-G-H-T holidays that are only always thought of as light, but what about those of us who are feeling some darkness and want to process it and move to the light? And so we'll be doing this for various light holidays that don't usually get thought of in regards to legacy. So join us and pay tribute. And if you had a complicated relationship with your father, even more important to join us, to work through it and to get to a place where there's light.
Right, even if you haven't lost your father and you have a complicated relationship with your father and Father's Day in itself.
It's about the death of aspects of a relationship, and somebody can be alive and still feel like there's a death. And so we bury what needs to be buried and we hold tight to what needs to live on. And so that's the Legacy Alive experience. Working with clients through life, loss, and legacy, all kinds of counseling, coaching opportunities that I'd love to talk to you about. Right now I have two groups going on. They're closed, but I'll be redoing or opening up new ones soon. One is Soul Uprising. Susan and Barb are in that one, and they're helping me design it, and they're amazing soul sisters, along with 8 other soul sisters in this group. Men are welcome in other groups. It happened to be a women-driven group, but Soul Uprising is about the afternoon of life and rewriting our goals, rules, and tools, like our conversation today. And it's exciting. it's energizing. And so love for you to consider my next Soul Uprising group. And then Kabbalah Soul Cinema, I'm working 2 different groups in that. I have a men's group, and I have a group focusing on life after death, or life after life, as I mentioned. Lots of good things happening. Would love to hear from you. Would love to hear what you're looking for, and maybe we can address that. So before I lose my voice, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you as always. Check out mysoulcenter.org for any of the various things we've just talked about. Because in the end, love is all there is. Love is all there is for us to you, and for you to the world. So let's now share this love with the world.
Okay. Yai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Love, love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love, love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love is all there is. Yai dai 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 yai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Love is all there is. Namaste. Shalom. Peace. Have a great week.